Hey everyone, it's Elliot here. I'm the owner here at Block Smoke and Grill. Here today with School BBQ. So this is our new line of rubs, and today we've got our new Nashville rub. It's called the Honky Tonk Nashville. So today, guys, we're going to make our Nashville Chicken Burger. We've got the fried chicken, obviously, with our Nashville rub. We're going to make some nice slaw. We've got some beautiful little brioche buns from one of our local bakeries. And then we're going to marinate up the chicken in some buttermilk with some of our pickle juice. Get it floured, fried. Get some nice oil on there, put our Nashville seasoning on in a bun. It's a perfect snack, snack for someone like me, maybe a meal for someone else. Yeah, and that's what we're doing today. Okay, first off, we're gonna need a bowl and a whisk. Some buttermilk, hot sauce, and some of our homemade pickle juice, and a little bit of our Nashville rub. So all we're gonna do is we've got our Chuluala hot sauce, Skugia. Try not to get it everywhere. There's 100 grams of that, 100 grams of pickle juice. Don't worry too much, the recipes will be all in the description below. Should be about right. And then we've got 200 grams of our buttermilk. And this should easily cover 4 to 6 chicken breasts, maybe even a bit more. So now all that's in there, just gonna give it a little whisk up. Make sure it's all incorporated. It's that easy. Just gonna give it a little dash of our Nashville rub. This is just to start to incorporate the flavors nice and early. And again, whisk that through. And that's it, that's our pickle rub done. Sorry, our pickle brine. So we've got our chicken thighs here. I've got a few too many, but we'll marinate up as many as we can. Got my 2 glass bowls. So all we're gonna do is dip them in and stack them up. The only reason we dip them is to make sure that we're covering every single little bit of our chicken. So I should do for that. Now when we're marinating this, because it's got the pickle juice in there, we don't need to add any salt. Also we've got some salt and some sugar in the Nashville rub and a little bit of heat there from the hot sauce. So this can marinate, you want to do a minimum 2 hours, maximum sort of overnight, even a couple of days is good. Just wash my gammy fingers. Alrighty, so now we've got our chicken, we've dunked it, and now we're just going to pour a little bit of the pickle brine buttermilk mix, whatever you want to call it. Just chuck that on there. There's a tiny little bit left, but that's okay. So now our chicken's marinating. All we need to do now is make our flour. So with the flour, we don't want to put too many ingredients in there. We don't want to put too many things that are going to burn when we cook it. So I've got a really simple recipe here. Again, this will all be in the description link below. So we've just got plain flour. We've got corn flour. And the reason we put the corn flour in is to help it keep it nice and crispy and not get too doughy. So we've got that in there. Then we've got 1 tablespoon cracked black pepper. We've got a handy dandy little chefy sauce pots. We've got, 2 tablespoons of salt, 2 teaspoons garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of cumin, 1 teaspoon of paprika, and 1 teaspoon of ground coriander. So that's all in there. We're also going to put a little shake of our Nashville rub, just a little shake, just like that. Now we don't want to put too much of these rubs and stuff in because again, they are going to burn. If you put too much paprika in, you end up with too much of a dark colour, and again, it will start to sort of look burnt. It might not even be burnt. So what we're going to do now is mix that. All right, so next up, now we've got our corn flour and our flour. We're just going to give it a really nice mix. Again, make sure it's well incorporated in there. And this is something that you can really make in advance. You know, you can make this a couple of days before. You can make an absolute load of it, chuck it in your fridge. I mean, not fridge, put it in your pantry, don't put it in your fridge. But make sure whenever you make your chicken, you take a little bit out, just what you're going to use. Don't add your dirty chicken flour back into it because you'll kill everyone. So we just want to make sure it's really well mixed. So just give the bowl a little bit of movement. So that's just going to make sure down in the bottom there, all of our flour's well mixed up. So that's all mixed nicely now. And again, if you can leave it for a couple of days, do it. If not, don't worry about it. All right, so now we've got our chicken marinating, flour's made. That's all just sitting chilling. Now we're just going to whip up our coleslaw. So the recipe for the coleslaw, I'm going to give you the dressing recipe, and then also you can kind of just mix it how you want. So again, we're going to make something that you chuck in the jar, chuck in the fridge, or store for at least a good couple of weeks. And it's just great to have hanging around, and it's good on anything. It's good for coleslaw, but it's also good just in a sandwich, just as a mayo plus a little bit more. So we'll get straight into it. So basically we've got some mayonnaise. So let's go straight in that bowl. Again, all the recipes will be in the description below, so I won't go into too much detail now. Mayonnaise in. And then we've got black pepper. We've got some apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar is great, especially with sugar in lots of things. Look at that. Ground garlic. Sugar. It's quite a little bit of sugar, but hey, why not? And just some smoked paprika. Now, the secret ingredient I like to put in this is just some of our pickle brine. Now, our pickle brine is homemade. You can just use it out of a tin. You can use whatever, it doesn't matter. Just a little bit of that. It's just going to help tie everything in. And then all we're going to do, you can see, just give it another really nice mix. The key is with this, you want to keep mixing it. You can hear at the bottom, it's a little bit grainy. So we just want to keep mixing until that's all gone. So it's mixing. So in here, we've got some just white cabbage, red cabbage, and grated carrot. I'm not going to stand and show you how to chop it all up. I'm sure you should be able to figure it out. If not, just buy a bag from the shop. So just put enough in there, whatever you deem enough, whatever you deem is not enough, just chuck it in. And then with our coleslaw, so everyone likes it different. Some people like it really wet and sloppy, some people like it nice and dry. I like it somewhere in between. So I'm just gonna eyeball it. Now, whatever you put in, just remember, it's gonna look a hell of a lot more when it's finished, if that makes sense. So it's gonna look a lot more, but just put in how much you feel. Just remember, there's no rules here. So we're just gonna mix that up and you'll see it'll start to get, all of a sudden, look like coleslaw. All right guys, so our chicken's marinated. That's had a good couple hours now, so all the flavors had time to penetrate in there. Break those proteins down in chicken and help it be a little bit more tender as well. Slaw's made, buns ready to go, everything's good to go. So we're gonna start the process of frying our chicken. So the most important part of frying chicken is the flouring. If you don't flour it properly, you'll end up being able to see through your crumb. It's not gonna be crunchy. You really want those nice, like big, lumpy, crunchy bits that are on there. That's the best bit about fried chicken. So I'm gonna show you my way of doing it. There's a million and one ways, I'm sure. I'm sure people think they can do it a lot better. This is just the way that works for me. So the first thing I like to do is get some of my flour. And actually, so this is the tray that we're gonna use. The wind likes to blow it around everywhere as well. So this is the tray that we're just gonna use to put our chicken on once it's floured. The reason I put a little bit of flour down first is just to stop any moisture coming out and sticking to that. So when you peel it off, if you leave it for any more than 5-10 minutes, it's going to leave the crumb behind. So this will just stop that from happening. All right, so next job, we've seen the flour we made earlier. And again, I'm just taking out what I reckon we'll need. You can always add to it. Remember, you can't take it away and you'll throw it in the bin. And as we all know, food is very, very expensive these days. So why would we waste it, right? So first job, we're just going to get some of our marinade and we're going to just come over and drip it over like that. And you can be quite liberal with this. And again, it just depends on, this is what's going to give you those ruffly bits. They're going to make it super crunchy. So the more you do, obviously you don't want to turn the bloody thing into a batter, but you want to do a good amount. So just like that. And then I'm just going to mix those in and you'll see that you start to get some real like big lumpy bits. And those lumpy bits equal crispy bits, so that's what we want. So that mix through. Now the trick is with fried chicken is you just got to take your time. Don't try and cook 10 pieces at once because they'll all stick together and you just end up with a big mess. What you can remember is it will rest and stay warm for a long time, like half an hour. So by the time you cook 3 batches of 2 for say 6 people, you're still going to be all right. So that's mixed up nicely now. So now I've used the tray this shape specifically so I can do 2 at a time, but use whatever you got to hand. You can do it on a plate, you can do it on whatever. Just bring this over so we don't make too much mess. So with your chicken, as it comes out, just make sure you've got plenty of that marinade on there. Not only is that going to give flavour, but that's what's going to make the actual flour itself stick. So straight in, 1. And 2. Now we try and stick as best as you can with a wet hand and a dry hand, but we are going to need 2. So I'm just going to bring the flour over it like that. Give it a little press. And do the other one. Make sure it's fully coated and just press down on it. Nice and hard. And you'll start to see little spots. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but little spots where the flour's starting to hydrate like this. That's what you want. So that's had just a few seconds in there. Bring it out, give it a little shake. Now you can already start to see, first give that a little bit more, these little ruffly bits. That's what we're after. See those wet bits? We're just going to go at it again, like that. And that's it. So just like that. Now, another really important part of the process is we just want to let that sit now for a little bit, let that flour hydrate with the chicken marinade, and that was what's really going to help it stick. If we throw that straight in the fryer now, a lot of the time that'll just come straight off. All right, guys, so we've got all set up now. We've got the fryer hot, ready to go. Chicken's been sat for a few minutes. You can see, again, it's started to get a really nice sort of crunchy, like mottly bits that you know are going to crisp up nicely. That's what we really want to see, okay? First thing we're going to do, so now the key is organization. That's the next thing we need to make sure we're ready. So I've got a rack here, and the chicken comes out straight on there. It's going to rest. All the excess oil is going to drip off, and there's not going to be any areas where it's going to get all soggy. Next, we've got the tray here. So next we've got our Nashville seasoning. We're going to chuck a load in here, and then we're going to put our hot oil on there, and that's going to give us our flavored oil for our Nashville. With these rubs, guys, you do have to shake them up a little bit sometimes. It's purely because they just cake up. We don't put anti-caking agents in them. They haven't got any rice flour in them. They've got nothing in there that stops them from clumping. There's nothing wrong with that. And also we use good brown sugar, and that does clump up a touch. So again, a little bit more. All right. So the last job's the cooking. So this is going to go in the fryer. I've got that set to about 160 degrees centigrade. Did mention that before. With these, we're going to cook them 2 at a time. This is just a little home fryer, so that should be about right. You want to make sure there's plenty of room around it. That's the biggest thing. There's plenty of space. The oil can get around it. They're not going to stick together and all that crumb's going to fall off. So one last time, we're just going to make sure all that flour is nicely stuck on. And then we're going to lay it in away from ourselves. Nice and gentle. And just let that go. So that's going to go for a minute. See, now I put that in, and looking straight away, that piece of chicken's a little bit big. So I'm just going to let that one cook in there on its own for a little bit. But what we can do is we can let that cook, and then we can add another one in there if we want, but you've got to keep an eye on it cooking. So if you cook them one at a time, it's not a drama, just do it. So now that the chicken's in, we just leave it. Don't touch it, don't move it around, don't do anything. All you want now to happen is that flour to start cooking and start to set on the chicken. If we start playing around with it, we're just going to knock it all off, all right? The only thing you can look at doing is, you'll see me over here, really gently, just bring the fryer basket up and down, just like that a couple of times. And all that'll do is it's going to stop it from sticking to the basket, all right? So what I'm going to do is have a quick peek. So that chicken, yeah, she needs a minute or two. So now that's been about another minute. So what I can see is it's moving freely in the basket when I move it like that. So I've really gently manipulated that now to the front. I'm actually going to drop my next piece in next to it. So now we're going to let that go. And this is where it can get a bit tricky, but like I say, I've done it a couple of times. So the front one I know has got another 4 minutes, the other one's just gone in at 6 minutes. As that one comes out, my next one will go in, and I'll treat it like a production line. This is really good if you're feeding quite a few people. It just means that you can keep it rotating through. Again, if you're only cooking for 2 of you, this will be fine as well. You just take one out, rest, wait for the other one to finish. Keep your timer on your phone going. All right, guys, so this is getting into the final stages now. You can see, if I pull it out just a little bit, we're starting to get some really nice crunchy bits on there. The chicken's looking really, really good. So I'm just gonna leave that probably another minute or so. While I do that though, we've got a Nashville rub that we chucked in our tray earlier before. There's a million one ways to do this. There's the traditional ways and stuff like that, and people probably tell me I'm a muppet, but this is how we do it at the shop because we sell so bloody much of it. So while I've got my hot oil that I've cooked my chicken in, I'm just gonna get a couple of ladles. While it's nice and hot, straight in. And you see how that sizzles straight away? I know all those flavors are gonna release out of that now. So we want to do this now so it's got a few minutes later to happen. Make sure it's all in the oil. Take it off that tray. Let's do it like a smart bloke. So you don't need too much. Just gonna grab a spoon. Oh, it smells so good. So you can really smell the smoked paprika once this happens. I'm just breaking up, making sure it's all nice and mixed together. Now you can really smell the spices. And one way to know that the oil's, you know, really nice and flavorful is you can see that the color's now changed. So it's all nice and dark red. All that sugar's dissolved in there. So that's gonna give us some great flavor on the chicken. Okay, so now our first lot of chicken's ready to come out. So again, nice and gently, bring it out. Just let it drain for a little second. Now I've left the basket in and I'm taking it out with my tongs because as we all remember, I've got that other piece still needs an extra couple of minutes. I'm just gonna sit out there like that. And you can see all this crunchy stuff, all looking really good. The other thing as well, on the chicken thighs we find you get a little bit of fat along here, a little bit of fat along there. A lot of people trim it, I don't, because fat tastes good. And that's how I maintain my physique, right? Okay, so now the last one comes out, so I'm just gonna pull that basket out, tip up on its side, like that, rest up against it. It just helps the oil drain off. It's not gonna pool up on anything. Drain it off for 30 seconds. Let it sit there. I'm very impatient, I don't wait 30 seconds. But you guys totally can. So now you've all got to argue over the size of your chicken because that one's a monster and that one's tiny. But hey. All right guys, so now we've pretty much pieced everything together. We've just got everything away, cleaned down, got rid of our raw chicken stuff because we don't want to kill everyone in the house. And now we're on to putting everything together. So the chicken's frying. I've got these last two here. You can see they're just finishing up. We've got a couple of minutes left to go. And we really got to hurry up because there's these killer flies out here today. So all I've got is got some of our homemade pickles, got some ranch dressing, and again, mix this up. I mean, pickles and fried chicken go well together, so I would recommend keeping them there. We've got our homemade ranch dressing, but you could use whatever you want. You could use a bit of cumin mayo, and you could use a little bit of this mixed with some Frank sauce, or a bit of mayo mixed with some Frank sauce, whatever you want, just go nuts. So all I'm gonna do is while that's finishing up, I'm gonna build the burgers ready to go, and then as our last bits of chicken come out, we can roll them straight in our oil, get them dusted and get them on, and we're good to go. So always have this prepared before you start so that everything's ready all at the same time. You're all nice and organized. You can just relax, crack a beer, cook a bit of chicken and you're sweet. So about a tablespoon. We're gonna do this on each side. I like my Nashville chicken sandwiches or burgers, sorry, to be nice and saucy, and this ranch with the dill in it and stuff, it really offsets the pickle, really goes well with the chicken. Spread it around just a little bit. This is one of the staple dishes on our menu. It's been on right from the start and it'll probably stay on forever and ever because it's the best. All right, so just one final check of the chicken, that's looking good. Couple of pickles. So again, we make these and we will do a recipe on these at some point because they're really, really good. But so just 4 or 5. Some people, Kaylee, like to have,
Pickle on the deck.
We got one on the run. Like to have loads of pickles. You can put them on the top and bottom if you want. I'm just going with the bottom, doesn't matter. So just like that, all nice and pretty. So now our last 2 bits of chicken are literally in their last sort of 30 seconds. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get our first 2 that we did rub. So I like to just stir it around, getting all those nice bits off the bottom there like that. And the great thing is about the oil is it's not gonna make your chicken go soggy. And again, we roll that around, really picking up some of that, because you find that the oil really unlocks that spice, really brings the flavor out. So try and make sure I get a little bit on there. Just gonna let that drain for literally a couple of seconds. Don't fall in there. Get our rub and be liberal. Just go crazy, like that. We just do the one side and I let it sit for a minute. So you'll see all that sugar on there. You wanna let that start to dissolve. So now that we've done that, all right, so now guys, the chicken, we've just finished that up, so we're gonna let that drain for a second. And these ones are still hot. They've not been sat there too long, but that rub's really started to adhere nicely. So we'll get these straight out. And this is the ideal way, straight out, straight round in that oil. Even scoop a bit on with your tongs, why not? Get it stuck in, just like that. Bit on there, scoop it around, just like that. And because these are so good, this chicken oil now you can do loads of. I just think a little bit more of there. But even now for that, if you're gonna have grilled chicken because you're trying to be healthy during the week, you want to eat fried chicken during the weekend, marinate some chicken in that tonight, it'd be fine. You make great grilled chicken. So now we're just gonna sprinkle some more Nashville rub straight over the top of that. Just, again, being quite liberal. Now you can see on these front pieces where it started to sort of melt in, and that's what we're looking for. So now we're just gonna finish off and build our burgers because we're pretty much ready to go. Just give the slaw a mix. So you can see that slaw started to nicely mix together. And then basically, we're just gonna grab our chicken, straight on there like that. Straight on there like that. And like that. Now that one we're going to leave there because it's too small and we don't like chicken that's too small. That one, it can be a little chef snack and you can just chop it up and eat it, which we'll do in a minute. Now the slaw's the last thing to go on that we made. I like to like call it an ice cream scoop full or just like a mounded tablespoon. Straight on the top like that. And again, this is a preference thing, put on as much or as little as you like. Like that. Just like that. And that's all she wrote, that's it, it's that simple. Chuck our lid on, lid on, lid on. That's just spot on that. And there we have it, Nashville chicken. All right guys, so there we have it. So we've made some Nashville chicken, showed you how to fry it using our all new Nashville chicken rub. It's not actually new, we've just started to bottle it and sell it. Get involved, soon you'll be able to buy this online. Right now you can buy it in stores, a couple of places around Perth here in Australia. But very soon this will be online and you can just order it and buy it. So we've been through the fried chicken process, we've been through the oiling, we've been through the slaw, the pickles, and it wouldn't be right if we didn't cut her in half and have a little look. So here we go. Oh, and there you have it. There's our Nashville fried chicken. All right, that's everything today, guys. Now you can go and make a Nashville chicken burger. Don't forget to follow us on all the socials for more videos. We've got more coming out soon, and we're gonna have more rubs coming out soon. So keep an eye out. Thanks, everyone. This is not the time for this.
You need to put that in like your outtakes.
Can you do outtakes as like for the intro and stuff?
Yeah.
And this will all be in there, right?
Yeah.